Welcome to the Small Business Success Story Series, where we sit down with business leaders to talk about insights, strategies, and solutions. Today, we sit down with the founding principal of Apollo Engineering Design Group, Josh Adams. Josh, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule, and thank you very much for being here today. We're super excited to have you and your team.
Thank you. I appreciate you having us on. This is exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. And our mission with the Small Business Series at GoEngineer is we want your company to be what you want it to be. And whether it's a one-person company, a sole proprietor, or you want to be a 10-person company or a 500-employee company, we want to be there for you and help you get there and grow. And so we're doing things like the Small Business Growth Series, and we're also doing things like this, the Insights, where we sit down with leaders and find out the tips and tricks that have helped make them successful. And we hope you learn a bunch of cool stuff from this. And again, today, Josh Adams, founding principal of Apollo Engineering Design Group. Just an amazing image over on the right. I don't know if you want to talk about that maybe a little bit, but tell us a little bit about you and Apollo.
Yeah, I've been running Apollo since 2015. I'm a mechanical engineer by training. I've been in a bunch of different industries. Finally ended up in the amusement ride industry. And then I decided to go out on my own. I had an opportunity. I had a friend he'd offered me a job where he was working, and I decided I didn't want to do it. It was too long of a commute. And the CEO of that company finally reached out to me and said, hey, if you could do it as a contractor, I'll give you 6 months worth of work, and the rest is history.
So fantastic, man. Well, congratulations. I know I can't forget how this all started, but I think you had reached out to us after watching the first Small Business, or vice versa, and then I know we've been working on this a while, so thanks again for being here. And I know you got a amazing little video we're going to share here next, and it's a little bit more about Apollo, so enjoy this video for a second.
We have 3 main areas of expertise. We do product design, product development, machine design, as well as simulations. We have the ability to not only do machine design in-house or product development in-house, but to augment that with the simulation side, testing the strength of what we're doing, custom design machine components that we need without having to reach out to a contractor to do so. But at the same time, we have good relationships with the disciplines that we don't have on staff. And so at times our clients want us to go to their own facility and augment their team locally. We kind of function as part of their team, have access to their internal data systems, things like that. Other times it'll just be that we augment their team virtually and we just work from our home offices, communicate with them over video conference or other means. A client that doesn't have any kind of engineering capability or design capability on staff, but they say are fabricators. They'll bid out a design and they use us to do the design and engineering portion, and they'll provide the fabrication side. We're small, local, we work really well, really quickly. Oftentimes our clients are actually reaching out to us because they're in the middle of an emergency. They're running out of time, right up against their deadline, and they need to be able to get it done quick. Oftentimes I'll get a call, and by the next day or the day after that, we're already spooled up and working on their project to help them meet that deadline.
Josh, what a great video put together by you and your team. Fantastic. So again, I know I've said this before, but I really appreciate you being here today and your team for taking time with us today. So let's talk insights and strategies and solutions that are helping you and your company. And I guess I start with, I know you touched on it just briefly there, but what made you want to start your company? Was there like a aha moment, or was there one of those things where you're working with somebody else and you go, man, I can totally do this better, or maybe a combo of them?
So I've always wanted to start my own company ever since I started school. And when I got out of school, I kind of false started a few times as I kind of tried to figure out what it is I wanted to do. But honestly, it came from a kind of a combination of things. I worked for several different companies, doing different kinds of work, and kind of gathering what I liked and didn't like. especially from the employee experience and maybe even the approach to engineering and the process involved. And so when as I mentioned before, when I had an opportunity to have a guaranteed 6 months working for a small company in northern Utah called Setpoint, as a contractor, I took it, and it was a great experience. It ended up being a lot more than 6 months. They ended up filling my plate over and over and over again. And I originally actually thought I would go for a couple of years kind of on my own, just kind of doing my own thing. And within 2 months, I'd hired an intern. 2 months later, I hired my first engineer. The next year, I hired 2 more engineers, and they just kept filling up my plate between them and several other clients. And we haven't been without our difficulties and struggles, but overall we've done really, really well and been very blessed with a lot of work.
Man, that's so fantastic. Congratulations on everything again. And I know you and I spoke originally, and it was funny, we had some parallels that we'd kind of done some things together as a small business owner myself, and you as well. And we talked about overcoming the challenges of just working from home. And we kind of listed a few. Are there any suggestions you can kind of think of to overcome to working at home and starting your own business there?
Yeah, so the way we run Apollo, every one of my engineers, so we're a team of 6 engineers, and every one of us, with the exception of our intern, works from home.
Okay.
And so every time I'm interviewing somebody, one of the things I always ask is, do you have a dedicated spot in your house?
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for that is you need to have a place where work can be, and then the rest of the place where your family can be, and where you can be the other roles that you perform in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And keeping it separated. I have several friends that I've watched that work from home on occasion, most of them in sales and different things like that, and they work from their kitchen table. And that never works. They're always complaining about the family getting in the way, or people coming up and bugging them, or maybe their spouse wants them to do something else in the middle of the day. And from the get-go, I set aside a specific room in my house. I actually have a lock on the door, a password lock on the door, or passcode,
Mm-hmm.
and it helps it be that way. I also made specific rules kind of internally, where like I won't take my laptop out of my office except in extreme circumstances, and those happen. I mean, if I'm working through the night,
Yeah.
I'll oftentimes work from sitting in bed and kind of change up my scenery. But for the most part, my laptop stays docked and it stays in my office unless I'm going to a business meeting or something like that.
Yeah.
But funny, you mentioned our previous conversation. Early on, I thought, oh, score, this is going to be awesome. I'm going to be able to work in my pajamas and nobody will know. I can work as comfortable as possible. And that lasted for probably a week.
Yeah.
And I realized my brain wasn't shifting out of normal lounging around the house person mode. And I wasn't shifting into business mode. And it was hard to make that, to kind of get my brain to kick into that mode where I could be an engineer.
Yeah, it's funny, you think, I'm going to work from home, I'll set my own hours, I can kind of dress the way I want or whatever, but at the end of the day, being professional doesn't matter whether you're at home or in an office, right? It's kind of the same thing. You're providing a service to someone, a professional service, so be professional at all times. And the other thing that I thought was interesting that you said here and before was kind of setting some office hours, and I think you and I mentioned this before, was that I think the trap is you work 8 or 10 hours, and then you see that there more work needs to be done in it than your 12-hour days and 14-hour days, and it just keeps getting, I don't want to say worse because that's not the proper word, but it just keeps adding on. And I think it was so cool that you said, yeah, I just started setting this is work time, this is non-work time. I thought that was really fantastic.
That definitely, I definitely have to do that, and I definitely failed at first. I mean, that wasn't something you just knew going into this. I mean, it kind of crept up on me, and I realized I was burning myself out. Yeah. When my dream of owning my own company becomes my nightmare, I know something's wrong and it needs to change. And it ended up being that I needed to just leave work at work and realize that it'll still be there in the morning. I mean, there are certainly occasions where we all work through the night to get something done for an emergency for a client, but I try to minimize those as much as I possibly can.
Man, that's such great insights. Thanks for sharing that. And then when obviously there's struggles in business as we go through it, right? And then what have you found to be the hardest thing about being in business? And do you have a little tip or a solution that you found along the way that might help some of the people joining with us?
Yeah, so some of the difficulties just being a business owner. I mean, like early on, I mentioned I had a great client, Set Point. They designed amusement rides. I was a small, nimble engineering team. They were really fun to work with, and they paid on time every single time. They weren't much for contracts, even though I put them under contract from my own point of view, for my own liability, and to make sure that I was insured and everything that went along with that. But they were just good people. They honored their commitments. A handshake meant something to them. I quickly found out that they were the anomaly, not the rule.
Yeah.
And others are not quite so honorable in their business practices.
Mm-hmm.
And I quickly found out that, I'm not going to work for somebody who, for clients who won't pay their bills on time. We even had, we had a specific experience with that was crazy. We had a client that hadn't paid, and so my accountant went out, or the person who was accounting for us went out and tried to get them to pay their bill. I mean, they hit their term limit, and it was time to pay, and they looked at her with kind of just annoyed and said, but we're not 2 weeks over that term limit yet. That we usually don't pay anything until at least 2 weeks late. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. That puts people out of business. I mean, cash flow is tight sometimes, and when you're talking, you're holding, $15,000, $20,000 2 weeks beyond when you owe that money. That's a big deal to somebody who's running only 3 or 4 people. I'm paying for people that put food on the table. I can't wait because I can cover you not honoring the contract that we have.
Yeah.
So I quickly learned never to work with those kind of people again, and I weed them out as not even potential clients.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that. You and I had come up the last time we were talking about the phrase, you can't do good business with bad people. It's a kind of a funny statement, but it's so true, right? Like you weed them out quickly, and you go, all right, these are the people I want to be associated with, and the people that are going to honor their word. And so that's cool. Thanks for sharing.
You
Go ahead.
really start looking for specific kinds of people. It's not even negative that you're going, oh, I work with them and I hate these guys, I'm not going to work with them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You start looking for the right kind of, start putting a list together, I guess, of the right kind of clients that you want to work with, the people that you desire, and then you go after those people. And instead of having this kind of shotgun approach where you've got 50,000 clients that are all over the board in the kind of work they do or the kind of way they approach their own business, you whittle it down to a bunch of repeat clients that you can trust and you have a good business working relationship with. And then, I mean, those kind of clients help you out when, say, your project's behind.
Mm-hmm.
They're the ones that understand, hey, for example, we have one client that works with us, and we totally blew the timeline on the project.
Mm-hmm.
But they're like, but just the relationship keeps it in place. They know, hey, Apollo owns their craft. If they screw up, if there's anything that's wrong, or if projects are delayed, they're gonna help us out with it, and they're gonna fix the problem. So.
Man, that's great. And so you started with one employee, and you mentioned early on that you've grown to multiple employees. Is there any secrets or things that you kind of look for when you're hiring people that you go, these are the key traits that I'm looking for when you're bringing on staff?
Yeah. So like I mentioned before, most of my guys, all but one, work from home. Mm-hmm. And even the one that doesn't, he works in our office. It's basically a glorified conference room. But all of them are not physically watched over by any kind of manager. And so the first thing I'm looking for, I think actually the main thing I'm looking for is a character. How honorable are these people? And it's kind of hard to figure out in an interview. So it's just a series of questions and things to kind of determine what kind of person they are, if I can trust them, because that's what I'm going to be doing is putting a lot of trust in those people to perform the way that they've committed to do without somebody saying, hey, get off Netflix and get to work. I don't monitor them.
Yeah.
I don't I don't have some kind of screen monitoring software, keystroke monitoring. I have seen those, and I've looked this up, and I've done research on it, and a lot of times that's what a company is doing. I can't be a big brother to somebody like that. If they're not the right person, we're gonna move on from them with our team. And I've been blessed with some great guys that do that.
Fantastic.
And we always test for their personality too. So joked with them during the interview. I had one guy that I knew the answer to his question, and it was a difficult question. I remember posing it to him and watching him just kind of struggle and wondering what I meant by it and trying to answer this question as best he possibly could. And I waited and I just said, yeah, I knew what you were talking about, and kind of laughed and just to see, can he take a joke? Yeah. And he starts laughing or whatever, and I'm like, okay, this guy's somebody we can hire, because we don't take ourselves too seriously here. We have to keep it fun, because I mean, to be honest, for 8 to 10 hours a day, you're stuck in your office working alone, staring at a computer screen. So
yeah.
So we joke with each other a lot on our chat software regularly, and we're pretty sarcastic, and our team takes it really well. If they don't last very long. So.
Yeah, it's great to have a sense of humor, right?
For sure.
Great. Love that. Unfortunately, I think we're all dealing with the pandemic here, and I know it's probably affected you guys as well. But the good news is, that most of your guys are working from home to start with. So outside of that, what challenges and issues have you guys found, and any solutions that you want to share with along that way, or?
Yeah. So. People say that just a lot, that you guys probably didn't even feel that pandemic happening, and I would love to say that was the case. Pandemic, we still felt it because everybody else was feeling it. Our work methodology and the way we work didn't really change, but it did for all of our clients. And we travel quite often. One of our value propositions is that we will embed engineers into an engineering team on site for a specific amount of time, or even just kind of a hybrid where we work from home most of the time and then visit their facility and work there for a week or two and come back, depending on what's needed. And that stopped suddenly, and a lot of our clients put a big pause on what they were doing. Amusement industry completely stopped working for a little while, and we were pretty heavily invested for the year in that. And so the big change that we had is we took engineers that do engineering for a reason, and we turned a couple of them into sales guys. And they did an awesome job, especially when that's not their core competency. Engineers don't like to talk to people generally. That's just not our forte. That's why we deal with math. So, They struggled up front, but we took advantage of the CARES Act. Two of my guys and myself as well are being trained in sales and marketing right now, taking a class from the local university. It's like a super condensed, help working professionals learn this stuff. It's a crazy time, but it's helped us a ton. And what it's done is expand our network and helped us to kind of get out. And we've had to spend time on Zoom doing tons of calls just like this, because people aren't letting us into the facility due to the COVID concerns and stuff like that. So, things have changed. I'd say everybody just feels a lot more isolated.
Yeah. Great. I love that you're kind of diversifying your skill sets, and I think that's really strong, especially when you said salespeople there. as opposed to just someone who knows the speech. You've got people that really know the insides of the software, the inside of the industry. And when we talk about like engineering or just, that kind of leads us into our next question is like, using SolidWorks, you guys are using it all the time, and, you guys use it in a myriad of ways. Like, how has SolidWorks helped you guys, and kind of some cool ways you might be using it?
So we've done lots of cool stuff with SolidWorks. We've even found out a lot of the limits of SolidWorks. Like something I bet a lot of people don't know is the volume limit that's in a SolidWorks part or assembly.
Yeah.
And we found that out doing a massive roller coaster. We laid out the track so that we could attach parts to it and verify that things were where they were supposed to be and stuff. So we did for one of our clients, we did a pretty big layout, and for a while I couldn't figure out why it wasn't working. It just wouldn't solve, and having doing a little bit of research and find out that it had a 5-kilometer limit on it.
Oh.
And the problem was the origin of the assembly was out in the middle of nowhere, and it was actually in the center of the park, and
Wow.
and the data that I had read in, it just couldn't figure it out. So we have found that limitation that I bet a lot of people don't ever get to see. But we've done layouts, we do parts assemblies and weldments, we've done tons of surfacing, we've had add-ins for it to do more organic shapes like amusement ride seats that are ergonomically form-fitted. We do 3D scanning and then use GeoMagic for SolidWorks to bring our data into SolidWorks and then process it that way. We've done, we use our own online file server software called Kinesto, and we have add-ins for SolidWorks for that to be able to associate all of our files. And then another way we use it a lot is we have a connector into ANSYS.
Okay.
So we use SolidWorks to process our CAD data and then read it into ANSYS, and the connector works really, really well, and it's kind of both direction associative, and it helps us just be able to iterate through design. So we use a lot of licenses of SolidWorks, and my team is probably 80% of them are in SolidWorks all day long. But kind of one of the cool things that we get to do as well is we use our client systems. So even though we don't have PDM software within our own facility or within our own company, we interface over VPN with a lot of our clients on their PDM systems. And so without even having to buy it, we are really well versed in how to use the PDM system and the way that a lot of people will connect it into their ERP systems and the various ways people interact with that system too. So we have the kind of this fortunate, unique perspective in being able to see how lots of different companies interact with SolidWorks and other design tools. So.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, you guys are kind of getting the best of both worlds there, which is great. And hey, Josh, I know we're getting up on the end of time here, and I appreciate your time today. Is there anything that you'd like to say to the folks out there wanting to start their own business or have recently started that you felt really helped you early on or has helped you that you'd like to share?
Yeah, so just realizing you can't do it all. Finding good people is probably the greatest key I could think of. Good people both within the organization and without. I have good partners that I work with that do different disciplines. I have a good accounting and legal help. Finding somebody, this is probably the key, somebody that can do the money side while I'm doing the engineering side, and make sure that we're getting paid, that we're paying our vendors, and that we have the cash flow that we need to be able to continue forward has been definitely key. And then just recently, I would say, especially for a business owner or somebody wanting to start a business, is finding some inspirational authors that have written books based on their own success. One specifically that comes to mind is one called Your Next 5 Moves by Patrick Bet-David.
Okay.
He has a YouTube channel called Valuetainment. He owns an insurance company that's got like 17,000 employees or something like that.
Wow.
And he's an Iranian refugee, Never graduated college, barely graduated high school, and he's worth, over $100 million now. And just his down to earth way of helping you understand that you can do it, and to run your business based on your own personality and what you want to get out of it those have been truly inspirational to me. And then just push hard.
Yeah, it's funny, I think you understand it, and obviously, hopefully, the people watching here and I understand it as well. Is that just because you have a business doesn't mean you're, it's all roses, right? There's a lot of hard work that goes in behind the scenes that people may not see. They think, oh, you're a business owner, you have plenty of money, or or whatever, right? But they don't see the 7 days a week work. They don't see the long hours, or and so I really appreciate you sharing everything with us today, and you and your team are just fantastic. So Josh, thank you again for being here today. We truly appreciate it, and thanks for sharing. Here's the book that Josh just mentioned. It's Your Next 5 Moves, Master the Art of Business Strategy. And maybe we'll start a little book club here for the small business folks out there that are joining us. So we can read it between now and the next time we get together, and share some information along the way. With that said, one thing that we want to do at this point is we want to hear again from you. What is your success story? We want you to be successful, and we want to help you get there. So my email and Josh's email is going to be coming up, but email me. Let us know if you'd like to be a part of this. It's going to be successful because of you, and it's for you. So please let us know what we can do. And if you'd like to be a part of this, and tell us your success story. Tell us your business strategies and your insights and some of your success stories that have allowed you to overcome some obstacles, much the same way Josh shared. And I do appreciate Josh and his team for sharing there. And then we want to hear from you, and we want to stay in touch with you. Again, sign up or subscribe. You can go to our website, GoEngineer.com, and sign up for our newsletter. Or, kind of to expand a little bit on what Josh talked about diversifying your skill set. Go up there, and maybe you don't know a simulation or surfacing or sheet metal as well as you need to. Go up there and sign up for a class, and now's the time to broaden that skill set. So you never know what you're going to be doing in the pandemic, and go up there and take some classes. We encourage you to do that. And then also check in on our YouTube channel. We're constantly posting videos up there. I think we're over 3,000 videos now, trying to provide solutions and information for you as a business owner and just a SolidWorks user in general. And then you can follow us on all the major social media networks, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And so please stay in touch. And here's our contact information. I'm David Kersley. I'm an application engineer and based out of Austin, Texas. My LinkedIn information is there, as well as my email. So if you'd like to be a part of this series, please reach out. And Josh Adams, again, can't thank him enough for being here today. The Apollo Engineering Design Group, there is his LinkedIn link, as well as his email. So if you have any questions for Josh or myself, please do not hesitate to reach out. We want to hear from you. And we'll be doing more of these, so we'll see you soon.